na successfully na yung Yosef na rescue na tapos saka yung new development naman sa OFW sa Laos yung sa government project i-discuss niya. Nandito rin si Arcet Noraline Uwi ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources. We'll ask her about emerging trends sa environmental front. Pwede niyo ba i-discuss yung speed? Hindi. Ano yung pinaka-outstanding na nila? Okay. We're still waiting for Dr. Winston Jamkasyon ng Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Coalition. Sana makakita ng update tungkol sa search for yung fugitive from justice na si Guo Huaping or Alice Leon Guo. Siguro, hintayin natin. In the meantime, let's start with Secretary Ansakdak kung ano yung latest development dito sa Red Sea.
Dito sa Red Sea ay umaga sa inyong lahat. And mag-uulan lang ako dito sa Red Sea. Yung ating mga tripulante sa barko na ang tawag ay oil tanker na ang tawag ay MT Sunyo ay ligtas na, as we all know. Sila ay nakarating na sa safe port mula pa nung hating gabi kahapon. At we have communicated with the families, nagkaroon na kami ng pagpupulong with the families and assured them of government assistance. Masaya sila. Papasalamat sila sa pamahalaan kay Pangulong Marcos sa tulong na naibigay at ibibigay pa sa kanilang mga mahal sa umay na 23 tripulante. 25 yung crew, 23 Filipinos, 2 Russians, including the Russian captain. And nakipag-usap na rin ako sa isa sa mga tripulante. Kinamusta ko sila, maayos naman daw sila doon sa hotel kung nasaan man sila. We cannot disclose the location of I hope you understand for security reasons kung saan sila dinala. But they are going through the necessary protocols, debriefings, and basic medicals, and DFA, alam ko kasi nandun si Yusek Ed sa aming pagpupulong kahapon. He assured also the utmost assistance from the DFA side, including those who may need travel documentation. Sabi ni Yusek Ed kahapon, yung ibahala natin ay tumutulong din dun sa mga tripulante na naroon. Again, ito pwedeng magiging ng lugar. But they will soon be repatriated home, at pag-uwi nila, yung whole of government assistance, once again, tayo tinatasan nung una pang pagkaroon ng hidwaan noong October last year between Hamas and Israeli Defense Forces na naging hidwaan na rin ng Israeli Defense Forces and Hezbollah. Kaya patuloy yung ating pagtulong sa ating mga returnees. DFW, OWA, unprecedented ang financial assistance na binibigay natin. 100,000 dati, ngayon tinaasan natin to 150,000. Sa palagay natin, lalo na sa Lebanon, ay makakatulong yung 150,000 para makakaya sa mga tao natin makauwi. Kapwa natin Pilipino. And then DOH, second Alfonsa, may basic medical check-up, including psychosocial counseling ng mga kararawan. DSWD, si Secrex, kasi lang natin yung mga social workers niya, may financial assistance, inaabot si Secrex. Ang TESTA, si DG Benitez, may mga training vouchers na inaabot sa mga nanunumali libreng training, kahit anong kurso, kahit anong TESDA accredited WOCTEC institution of their choice. No? And then finally, ito ulit, sa Penny Lagers, tumutulong din sa local government. So yun po ang so far. Kahapon, nakipagpulong din tayo sa mga international maritime stakeholders, yung IACGMA, Advisory Council of Global Maritime Affairs na itinalaga ng Pangulo natin together with SecTools noong 2022. Nagpulong din kami at pinag-usapan namin ang pagpapaitik ng protection ng seafarers dyan sa Red Sea at Papapaylan.
Sir, hindi ko ba kumakailan may pahiyat ang DFW at ang DFA na hinihikayat ang mga Pilipino na kung ayaw nila, pwede sila mag-manifest ang pag-ayaw nila na ma-duty sa daraan sa lugar na yan. Ano po yung nangyari doon sa ano? Ito po bang mga 23 Filipinos na ito kasama sa nag-manifest o hindi?
Yes, merong dokumentasyon. Meron tayong department order na nagsasabi, okay, paliwanag ko lang yung may clear yung balangkas ng patakaran natin dyan sa Red Sea. Una, direktiba sa mga ship owners, license money agencies na mag-divert ng voyage away from the Red Sea. And in fairness, 70% of our ship owners na nagsasakay ng Pilipino nag-divert na away from the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and through the Cape of Good Hope sa Africa. Medyo malayo ang ikot, additional 50-20 days sa biyahe, but nevertheless, safer ang ating mga tripulante. Pangalawa, kung ang isang ship owner ay magpasya pa rin ayon sa kanyang freedom to navigate international waters, kasi international waters yun, yung Red Sea at Gulf of Aden, yung bahagi nun, at least na dinadaanan up the Suez Canal, up and down on the Suez Canal into Europe, Mediterranean, ay dapat malinaw na merong pagkilala ng right to refuse sailing ng mga tripulante. 122 of our seafarers dito ay meron ng right to refuse sailing na ipinahayag na ginala naman ng ship owners. Dito sa MT Sunyon, merong consent, hindi sila nagpahayag ng right to refuse sailing. However, ang isang pinahayag namin sa meeting kahapon, hindi katulad ng isang insidente, MV Tutor, kung saan mabilis ang rescue ng maritime forces, naval forces. Dito, matagal. Kaya, meron kaming pahayag sa ship owner na tila baga naglayag ng walang maritime security escort, which is required under our rules. Ang tagal bago dumating ng rescue, nagkaroon ng distress, kaya hindi kami masaya dito. Sinasabi namin sa ship owner, hindi ka na pwede magsakay ng Filipino seafarers na maglalaya sa water na yan. At dapat paalala sa lahat, please, kung kayo na rin lang ay gusto nyo gawing safe ang ating mga tripulante, dapat may maritime security escort. At meron din kaming agreement kahapon sa meeting with the international maritime stakeholders, which means yung international ship owner groups at international seafarer groups na panawagan na sana paigtingin ang magkakaroon ng maritime security forces dyan in that part of the world. We are thankful for the rescue efforts. No? Very, very thankful for the rescue efforts ng sa MV Tutor, US Navy, and in the case of the MT Suno sa French Navy. Pero ito nga, tinatanong namin ngayon yung ship owner, bakit ila walang maritime security escort in this situation?
Sir, kung hindi nag-avail ng right to refuse sailing, ito ating mga tripulante, ayoko maging sabi ng board water, hindi ko ba in effect may pananagutan din sila kumpara dun sa nag-manifest ng right to refuse sailing pero nabiktima. Ito ang nilay panganib na si Noon. May tacit approval at least sa kanila na pumasok sa ganung panganib. Mababawasan ba dito pag natin ito kung may araw na ito?
Hindi, kasi both sides have the freedom to navigate, no? Tama ka doon, yung seafarer, may kapasyahan siya, ulat yung kanyang kapasyahan, at knowing the risks, no, attendant risks. However, yung ship owner, meron din siyang kapasyahan na nasa kamay niya yung responsibilidad na magbigay ng protection. Nandiyan ang sakay ng barko ng mga, in this case, langis, oil. Protected yan ng ating mga tripulante as they cross the seas, navigate the seas. So dapat meron din protection sa ating mga tripulante. So ganun lamang yun. That's the way it works. That's the way our department order works. So we will just have to hold the ship owners responsible in this particular situation.
Seafarers natin, no choice but to follow yung ship owner, di ba?
Choice naman talaga sila. As I said, 122 have refused and have been given the right to refuse. Either binigyan in-assign sila sa ibang biyahe or voyage or pinauwi sila. Repatriate muna sila with certain compensation, 2 months compensation under our rules. So, para sa amin, binabalansin natin yung freedom to navigate, but at the same time, yung attendant risks, lalo na sa panahon na ito, kakaibang sitwasyon, nagaganap siya, kitang sila.
Sir, yun po ba memorandum galing po sa DFW pertaining to the right to refuse sale, yan po ba yung option na bibili yun ng mga seaman o obligasyon nila?
Yan ay karapatan nila. It's a long-standing maritime tradition ng right to refuse sailing.
Okay. Pwede po silang i-compare ng kasi gobyerno ng Pilipinas, Filipino seamen, bawal kayo magkano dyan.
Ang patakaran natin ngayon ay pinagbabawal natin sila kung yung sasakay nilang barko ay pagmamayari ng ship owner na inatake na. Yan ang patakaran natin ngayon. Kaya ito nga, sinasabi ko sa inyo, dito sa ship owner ng MV Sunyo, ay pagpapawalan na po natin na sila ay sumakay. Pagpapawalan na natin sila na magsakay ng Filipino seafarer sa barkong itatawid nila sa Red Sea at Gulf of Aden. Kung ibang rota, walang problema. Same ship owner, ibang rota, pwede. Pero kung same ship owner ito ng MV Sunyo, Filipino seafarers, Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, pagbabawalan na po natin.
Yung po ba Pilipino may choice? Let's say, sinabi ng may-ari ng barko na dito tayo dadaan. Kung ayaw mo, mawawa naman ng kontrata. Pwede po ba yun? Pwede mo sabihin ng mga Pilipino seafarers, ay no choice kami kung anong gusto ng may-ari dadaan.
Nasa ating issuance, walang diskriminasyon. Kaya may sinasabi ko, yung 122 that have refused, ito mahalagang mensahe. Binigyan, maganda yung tanong nyo, binigyan ng panibagong assignment away from the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden or pinauwi with 2 months compensation but still with a chance for re-engagement. So yan ang kasi ang gano'n na lamang ang demand sa ating seafarers at naintindihan ng mga ship owners ang sitwasyon. It's a safety and security issue. It was not brought on by lack of performance or low quality performance ng tripulante or misbehaving on board. Hindi ganyan ang sitwasyon. Ibig sabihin, pwede siyang i-re-engage muli. Either pag humumpa na ang sitwasyon sa Red Sea or Gulf of Aden or sa ibang biyahe, sa ibang rota, ibang voyage.
Okay, may question yata ABS before we go to another topic related sa
Secretary Lacda. Sir, can you give us lang po a comparison? Gaano po kabilis yung rescue sa MV Tutor compared sa MV?
Sa MV Tutor was around the 4-hour rescue window. Dito, tumagas. Again, we're very, very thankful to the French Navy. However, we are asking the ship owner why the voyage proceeded with the potential maritime security force far away.
Sir, ano po yung sagot ng yung explanation ng ship owner? And gaano po katagal yung rescue?
We are still investigating the matter.
Sir, gaano po katagal
Kasi,
yun?
in fairness, ongoing pa rin yung kanilang repatriation effort.
Sir, gaano katagal yung rescue for MT Soto?
24 hours.
20 hours. Thank you, sir.
Ano yung additional cost na i-incur ng ship owner kung iikot pa siya sa Western Africa?
Hindi ko alam yung exact cost. But it's 15, additional around 15 to 20 days.
So matagal pa yan. Pero ano rin yan, advantage yung para sa Filipino seafarers.
Yes, well, additional working hours, additional income. Mababantay na lang dyan yung shifting siguro at yung potential added working hours may lead to fatigue, things like that. Those things need to be guarded. But we trust the international shipping community. There are international safety and health standards that, in fairness, have been faithfully complied with over the years.
Sige, meron pa isang issue concerning OFWs. This time dun sa Laos, may mga nahuli na OFWs na ano to, mga scam na rin mo.
Okay. We have been working closely with the DFA. Wala tayong migrant workers office sa Vientiane, sa Lao PDR. So we're working very closely with Secretary Manalo and Yusek Edivega. Communications namin yesterday is quite a lot. So we have been coordinating, and as far as we know, pahayag na rin ito ng DFA. Sabi ng DFA sa kanilang statement ay nangyari yung nangyari sa Bokpio Province, Lao PDR, yung crackdown on illegal companies within the Golden Trial Special Economic Zone. I'm reading out of a DFA statement. At the Philippine Embassy in Vientiane, Laos, is working closely with the Lao authorities. So far, people na yun napauwi, pero may 75 pa. Ang initial figure na naibigay namin was 73, but 75 ang pending repatriation. This appears to be another related to a cyber scam operation, but we shall await further details on this. And once again, based on the presidential directive, post-arrival assistance is ready. PMW OWA stand ready to help. PMW particularly stands ready to help upon arrival of the, I would call them victims of illegal recruitment and human trafficking. And we will work with the DOJ in terms of filing the necessary charges. We will get the statements of the victims para ma-pinpoint sila nag-recruit sa kanila dito sa Pilipinas, file the necessary charges in partnership with the DOJ. And then, finally, yung ating paalala sa mga kababayan natin, huwag pong pumatol sa recruiter na walang lisensya mula sa DMW. Huwag pong pumatol kapag walang work visa at kontrata na dumaan sa DMW at yung mismong documentation, yung clearance, dapat mayroon kayong hawak na clearance mula sa DMW. Madalas kasi, since Lao ito, remember, an ASEAN country, no? So based on the visa-free arrangement, napapainan sila nung walang visa. But this is ASEAN, so that means yung visa-free arrangement only pertains to tourists. Pag magkatrabaho po tayo, address to our job applicants out there, pag magtatrabaho tayo sa isang ASEAN-free, visa-free country, kailangan ng work visa. Yung pagka-visa-free ay para maging turista doon. So kung gusto mo makita ang Angkor Wat sa Cambodia, visa-free. Pero kung gusto mo magtrabaho sa Cambodia, work visa antimano dito pa lang. Dapat meron na kontrata, dadaan sa DMW kung gagawaran kayo ng clearance ng DMW. Yan po ang mahalaga. para hindi kayo mabiktima ng illegal recruiter.
Sige. At this point, we'd like to welcome the presence of Dr. Winston Castro ng Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission. Sige. Siguro, lipat muna tayo sa DNR kung ano yung updates dun sa mayroong regional conference, international conference.
Magandang umaga po. Salamat ulit pa sa panyaya sa amin. So, this coming October po, magkakaroon tayo ng isang regional conference. Ito po yung Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. Kung maalala niyo po nitong Webes lang, nagkaroon tayo ng media launch sa PICC. So, nandun po sila Secretary Tidoro, Secretary Larzaga, nagkaroon din po tayo ng press con. So, ito po isang week-long na conference kung saan po mayroon tayong mga bisita galing sa Asia Pacific countries. Sa ngayon po, yung may nakapag-register na may mga 62 na po tayong bansa na pupunta po dito sa atin. So, itong conference na to, isang plataforma kung saan tayo po ay magkaroon ng exchange ng knowledge sharing po sa pagtugon sa disaster risk. At po yung magkaroon pa tayo ng strengthened bilateral cooperation, magkaroon pa tayo ng mga exchange po ng technologies and knowledge nga po para po tayo ay mas matugunan po natin na mas maayos ang mga disasters. Lalo na po ngayon na iba na po talaga yung risk landscape. Nakita niyo naman po, iba na yung intensity or magnitude po ng mga hazards na na-experience natin ngayon. So, yun na po sa pasimula, nangyari namin lahat, and then po, open pa po rin yung registration. Meron po tayong website, care of the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, at mananatili po itong bukas hanggang September 15 because we're expecting around 2,500 participants from all over the region and outside the region actually. And of course, we have also invited our local governments and yung mga practitioners po natin dito para po ay makapacitate naman po at mas matugunan po natin yung mga disasters pagdating ng araw.
Ma'am, ano po yung binabanggit yung mga bagong uri ng disasters? Maliban din sa, alam natin, baha, landslide, sunog at iba pa. Ano pa po yung bagong disaster?
Hindi naman po ito bago. Actually po, yung UNDRR, meron na po siyang listahan yung number of list po ng hazards. So, mga 300 plus po ito. So, may hydromet, meron po doon mga technological, may societal din po. So, sa ngayon po, on the part of DNR, yung bago namin talagang ina-analyze yung forest fires. Kasi dati po, hindi po talaga kami nag-respond doon kundi yung BFP. Pero ngayon po, inaako na rin po namin yung responsibilidad on addressing that. Yung pangalawa po is more of the technological or yung tinatawag natin natural technological disasters coming out of natural hazards induced. So, halimbawa po, mayroong bagyo, and then meron pong oil spill. So, ito po yung tinatawag natin na-tech na mga disasters. Ito po yung mga hindi pa tayo may sapat na kaalaman. Although yung oil spill po, on the part of DNR, marami na po rin kami dahil sa last year, and then yung nakaraan pong oil spill. And then yung yung sinasabi ko pong changing risk landscape, yung mga disasters po kasi ngayon, nagiging na po siya, systemic, nagiging compounding, nagiging po siya simultaneous, kagaya ng pandemic, meron pa rin po tayong mga bagyo, may earthquake pa rin. So mahirap na po siyang i-address in a comprehensive manner kasi marami po tayong iniisip kung ano po yung uunahin at yung mga resources na gagamitin po natin.
So, I suppose yung sa oil spill, eksperto na ang ating bansa. Kasi taon-taon, meron oil spill.
So, sa ngayon po, at least yung institutional arrangement po, na-ayos po talaga natin yun. So, ibago na po na yung Philippine Coast Guard po nag-lead. Sa parte naman ng DNR, kami po yung sa water DOH yung sa health dimension. Of course, yung LGU po on the livelihoods, etc. So yun po, maayos naman po gano'n po sa amin. Yun nga po, pag may nangyari, may task force in place kaagad, nag-meeting na sila everyday since the oil spill.
DNR po ba nag-keep ng data ng mga disasters and numbers?
So, kami po sa DNR, hindi po kami yung may core mandate sa disaster risk reduction. Ito po yung Office of Civil Defense.
Pero po data, kasi iba yung reduction. Kasi kung may data, parang ng PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority.
So, yung Office of Civil Defense po, yung may database po. Sila po yung nagko-collect. Meron po silang situational reports na nire-release every time na yung nangyayari. Meron po silang data pagkatapos ng disaster, yung post-disaster risk assessment. So, may mga data po doon na makukuha.
Kung kami yung forest fire, dati sa TV news na kami napapanood yun eh. Pero dito sa atin nangyayari, ano po yung pinakamalaking forest fire na naganap sa ating bansa?
Hindi ko na, marami pong sa north po of course, pero hindi ako makapag-identify ng particular incident kasi marami na rin po tayong experience.
Sa Mount Banahaw, ang natatandaan ko dyan, yung 150 hectares na nasulog. So wala akong maisip nyo ba kung malakad na nasulog, di ba?
So maaari po isa yun sa mga malaki pong nangyayari ngayon. Pero globally po, may increased incidence po talaga ng forest fires. Kaya po ay ito'y tinutugunan natin ng increased na attention sa paghahanda kasi po every year nangyayari na po ito dahil sa climate change.
Medyo ano yan sa amin, Greek sa amin, yung forestry. Hindi ko pa yung forest fire natural po naman. Pamamaraan para mag-regenerate ng forest the natural way. Bago natin dipihilan.
So, hindi pa ako forester. Hindi ko siya kung ano. Pero po, ito pong increased incidence really is because of the increased temperature, dala na po ng climate change. So, tama po kayo, natural po yung forest fires to regenerate the ecosystem and all that. Pero ngayon po, pinaghandaan natin lalo ito dahil anticipate that in the future, because of the changing climate, mas magiging malala po siya. Lahat po nangyayari forest fires ngayon globally is at a scale na unprecedented po siya. Hindi po natin siya naranasan before, na in a natural manner, hindi po siya nag-occur ng gano'n dati. Dahil ngayon sa climate change, mayroon na po tayong ganitong scale.
Okay, we'll go back to that siguro later. At this point, sabihin natin si Dr. Winston Casio, anong development dito sa bring Alice Go back to the country. And siguro, how did she escape based on your investigation?
Para nakaalis, paano siya go away. Well, what we know so far is this. Based on the Commission's investigation, the last sighting we had of Alice Go was July 14. She was apparently seen in a private resort in the western tip of Luzon. Now, when we attempted to serve the warrant, so to speak, and the mission order against Alice Guo or Hoa Ping, our source inside that particular location informed us that she left in 2 speedboats together with some members of her party in the early hours of our operation. So we saw her again based on the reports that we've gotten from our international counterparts. July 17, she left Denpasar via Batik Air, headed to Kuala Lumpur. So she arrived in Kuala Lumpur July 18, 12:05, thereabouts. Her passport was used to get into the country, the Philippine passport, I mean, Alice Guo. Then she stayed in Kuala Lumpur up until July 21. July 21, she left via Jetstar Airways to Singapore. Then she left Singapore for Batam, Indonesia via ferryboat only last Sunday, August 18. So there is a crucial time period from July 14 to 17 that we could not locate her. Now the question is, did she leave the Philippines by a commercial flight or a commercial sea vessel? We have not seen her name in any of the flight records or vessel records from those exclusive dates. So we are very confident that she did not leave the country via the normal way, via the immigration exit points. So that is why the President released a public statement that called on all of us in law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation as to what happened between those 3 days that she was not cited. Because obviously those were the days that she left the country. And this would not have happened if no private individuals or maybe public officials have assisted her. Kasi an operation of that magnitude has so many moving parts. And to control an information such as that would require a technical expertise that is not available to just a simple private individual. So, kinakailangan ko ng malalim ng investigation dito. Now, with regards to her current location, as of Monday, we've received reports that the brother, Wesley Go, attempted to leave Batam for Hong Kong. As to whether the attempt was successful, we have yet to receive reports from our Hong Kong counterparts. Now, about Mayor Guo, the Indonesian authorities are confident that she's still secure within the Batam area. Now, unfortunately, we have no blue notice, we have no red notice that would facilitate her immediate return to the Philippines.
Bakit po? Bakit walang red or blue notice?
We have no blue notice in as much as that's still being applied by our local prosecutorial team. We have no red notice because there is no warrant of arrest for her yet. The basis for red notice, which is an international arrest warrant, is a local arrest warrant. Wala pa po yun. The cases that we filed against Alice Guo still pending for resolution before the Department of Justice. So that is a qualified trafficking in person case. Assuming that we get that favorable resolution in favor of the government, so only then would a warrant of arrest be issued against her. Only then would we be able to trigger an application for a red notice before the Interpol.
Doktor, nabanggit niyo po na walang record ng umalis na Alice Go sa Pilipinas. Wala rin record na umalis sa Guam. Sigurado po ba tayo na dadalawan pa ng passport?
I could not answer 100% affirmative, but based on our records, these are the only passports that she had. No, so wala pa akong nag-volunteer sa amin na mag-provide additional passports. In our very thorough na po kasi investigation namin sa buhay ni Alice Guo. In fact, we're keeping a good number of the information that we have to ourselves kasi ayaw namin maragdagan yung drama because there are more noise now than something that we could act on or something justiciable on our part. So, we want to limit the noise.
Dok, yung pinaglakbayan niya galing sa Western Tip ng Pilipinas, galing sa Bales, galing Ilocos Region, nakarating ng Malaysia, pumunta na Singapore, nagpunta ng Indonesia, tapos yung isa, yung kapatid, gusto magtutunan ng Hong Kong. Ano po bang iniisip yung lugar na kanilang final destination kung saan magkakaroon sila ng tatamasa-yung kalayaan?
No, she will definitely not go to China. In as much as she is already a person of interest as far as China is concerned, because she's accused of a serious crime in the Philippines in relation to illegal gambling. And we know how strict China is in relation to gambling in their own territory. So definitely she would not be heading to any of those territories. Now, what is the visible territory that you will head into? As far as the commission is concerned, as far as the EOJ, the power is concerned, we are confident that she's trying to get into the Golden Triangle. Because the family, the Guo family, has business interests, gambling interests in Cambodia. So that would be the safest bet that we have as of this moment.
So yung pong mga European destination, North and South American destination, kaya sa Interpol, hindi safe ang mga doon.
Yeah, if I am a criminal from the Philippines, I will not go to countries where extradition between that territory and the Philippines exists. And I will not go to territories that are party to the international, to the United Nations OCOC, so to speak, United Nations Convention on Transnational Crime. I will never go to those places. So magaling pa akong ibabalik.
So kung ang most possible destination nila ay yung Golden Triangle. Of course, may magandang ugnayan ng mga ASEAN countries. Pwede po ba natin magalit yun?
It depends where in the Golden Triangle she will land. The good secretary here would have a good idea what I mean when I say it depends where she would land in the Golden Triangle. So the Golden Triangle, those countries are very porous in boundaries, as I imagine, and we know what the Golden Triangle entails when we talk about transnational organized crimes.
Sa Golden Triangle, sa Golden Triangle.
Okay, question na
Mr. Spokesman, what's the update on the investigation on Harimo?
I would defer to the Senate and as to the House with regards to the investigation. DOJ, we met last Thursday as a task group, and the prosecutors involved in the investigation of Lucky South 99 gave us an assurance that the investigation in relation to all persons of interest in relation to Lucky South is ongoing. That includes Mr. Roque. But we will not file charges that are superficial, because despite the accusations being leveled against the Commission, against me personally, and against the interagency task group, we are not motivated by politics. We are not motivated by personal interests here. In fact, the public may recall that when the documents attributed to Ginoong Roque were found in Lucky South 99, our Executive Director, Undersecretary Gilbert Cruz, and myself said, we found nothing suspicious as far as those documents were concerned. But then, as the investigation kept on rolling and things were unfolding, we are not able to say the same. In fact, he is now a person of interest in our investigation. Nothing personal, we're just guided by evidence.
Kayo po ba nag-file na sa AMLAC ng request na malaman ang record ng mga bank accounts ng mga pinangalanan at ang mga naging suspect nyo doon sa nirate na 2 Pobohap, Bamban at Apora, and especially kay Harry Roque?
Obviously, the country is to focus now on Harry Roque, no? But let me clarify. Now, with regards to Bamban, we have already filed, by we, the AMLCB, part of our task group, has already filed a petition for civil forfeiture that open and close all bank accounts in relation to the personalities involved in Sunyo 1, Alice Guo et al. Frozen na po yun. Now, with regards to Lucky South 99, none so far. Why? Because what would trigger a civil forfeiture proceeding or a money laundering proceeding would be a predicate crime. And the predicate crime, as far as Lucky South 99 is concerned, would be trafficking in person. We have yet to file a trafficking in persons case against anybody in relation to Cora. So we could not trigger a civil forfeiture petition nor a money laundering case as of yet.
Yes, ABS.
Hi, Sir. Good morning. Sir, ano po yung mga businesses ng Guo family sa Golden Triangle na na-identify ng tao?
As usual, it's more on offshore gaming operations, gambling. The Golden Triangle is very open to gambling operations. You may be able to Google it and see the different trades conducted by the Cambodian government, the Myanmarese government, and even the Laos government in relation to tracking down on Chinese syndicates that run offshore gaming operations in this area.
Sir, ano po yung extent ng influence nila in the Golden Triangle? Would you say they are small-time players there, medium-sized, or gaano po kalaki yung gravity nila?
Ma'am, the operations of Bamban and Porac involves a transnational criminal organization. In fact, as you may have known by now, the persons who have facilitated the escape of the Guo siblings and Catherine Cassandra Leong into Batam are two international criminals as well. Xiang Jing, a Singaporean national, and a Tuareg Wu, an individual of Chinese descent but now holding a passport from St. Kitts. So when you ask the question how large the organization is, it is large enough to be able to go through the different areas within the ASEAN. So there are interests almost all over. If you go back to the biggest money laundering case in Singapore involving Xiang Ruijin and Lin Baomi, two of the partners of Alice Liao Guo, they were released. Xiang was released into Cambodia, repatriated. Lin, on the other hand, was repatriated by her request, through her request, into Japan. So, ganun po kalawak yung kanilang network. This is not a run-of-the-mill criminal organization.
Sir, yung chances po of arresting Go once she enters the Golden Triangle, gaano kalaki po yung ibababa or i-decline?
I would answer that question when we reach that point now. So we have to prevent that from happening.
Dok, ang tanong yata originally ng ating kaibigan sa ABS, kung gaano kalaki yung pamilya ni Alice Guo operasyon doon sa Golden Triangle, dito sila big fish. Doon ba sila big fish din? O yung mga total pogo lang sa Pilipinas ay mas malaki o mas maliit kumpara doon sa pogo doon sa Golden Triangle?
Siyempre hindi na sila pogo doon. Hindi na sila Philippines. They're a gambling operation. They're big. In fact, these organizations have cropped up in a UNODC report released January 2024. That's why PAO, the Executive Secretary, wants us to dig deep into all of this kasi ang Pilipinas ay very infamous when it comes to these scamming activities. Na-mention mo tayo doon sa UNODC report na bilang isa sa pinakamalaki na scamming hubs dito sa Southeast Asia region. And it was for that reason that the President actually called for the banning, actually ordered the banning. Kaya kami naman ngayon sa komisyon, halos wala na akong tulog, kasama yung DOJ. DOJ has been a very good partner in this fight. No? Kaya lang, the problem is so huge. Hindi lang po siya Pilipinas, transnational. No? And by the way, aminin mo namin, kami din ay nagulanta dun sa privilege speech ni Senator Teros. Because we kept on checking the record. Thursday last week, check ko pa po yung immigration record. I made an inquiry. Wala pa kung Alice Guo na lumalabas ang Pilipinas. Kaya nung privilege speech yung senadora, I had to pick up the phone and call all of my counterparts in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. And they confirmed what they knew for a very long time already, that she was not in the Philippines anymore.
Hi, good morning for Secretaries. Sir, speaking of her siblings, meron ba kayo information na magkakapatid ba talaga sila Sheila, Alice, Wesley, and Shellen. Iba kasi yung Chinese name ni Sheila sa last name ni Alice na Guo, Waping. Did you have any information that they're not, in fact, actually siblings?
Thank you for asking that very important question. As far as the commission is concerned, the siblings of Alice are Seaman and Wesley, both males. As far as Sheila is concerned, we've got reason to believe that she may be at best a half-sister because the father is known to be a, how would I say it? So, yun na yun. Parang gano'n. Worse, she could just be a cousin or a distant relative. They're not full blood siblings. That we could be certain of.
Okay, and paano po makakatulong sa kanya yung cancellation ng Philippine passports ni Alice if ever na makancel? Kasi DFA and DOJ is still working on it.
Una, despite the fact that we requested, the commission requested the cancellation of her passport, that cannot be summarily done. Let's go through a process. First, we have to cancel her certificate of live birth because that is a supporting document that allowed her to possess a Philippine passport. Then only then can you cancel a passport. And to cancel that, it has to go through a court process. The court order by a competent regional trial court will be the one to order the cancellation. Then, and only then can DFA cancel the passport. Alam tulong po nun, malaki. Kaya lang I would caution, I hope, I would caution the immediate deportation. I will not call for the deportation of Sheila Guo into China. Why? The public of China, the People's Republic of China, once you cancel, has a policy that once you cancel your passport, your nationality, and acquire the nationality of another passport, it's difficult for you to reacquire that nationality, that citizenship. Then what will happen to Sheila, Alice, Wesley, and I? They will become stateless individuals. I hate it to happen. I hate it if they would become refugees and they would fall under the framework of the United Nations Commission for Refugees, because they would take on a different legal character and they would be protected by that legal character.
So, Doc, kung siya ay magkakaroon ng ganong status na ikinainis mong mangyari, lalo siya hindi pwedeng report pabalik ng China.
As far as the commission is concerned, and as far as our team with the IACAT is concerned, we would want them to be incarcerated in the Philippines to answer for all their crimes in the country. Kaya nga po, pag may nahuhuli po kami, ito panawagan ko rin po sa mga kapwa namin law enforcement agencies. Lately, napakarami po mga raids. Pinabantayan po namin lahat yan. May mga reports kami yan, may mga videos, pictures, and everything. Sapagkat may assets po ang tao sa halos lahat ng mga po illegal or legal. Humuli ka, meron isang daang tao dyan ng foreign national sa grupo na yan, sa illegal na po na yan. Obviously, they have already committed a crime as far as their immigration status are concerned. They're undesirable aliens because they are found working in a place of criminal repute. Di ba? That is already a good basis for their pass or for their visas to be cancelled. Pag i-cancel mo ang visa ng mga foreign nationals na yan, they are already deportable. But what is happening in the past several weeks is this. Agencies rate, 6 kakasuhan, 3 kakasuhan, 50, 100 makakawala. So pag nakawala yung 100, sa palagay natin, saan pupunta yun? Babalik sa illegal na kumain. So binibigyan lang natin ng malaking problema ang gobyerno. So same with Sheila, Alice, and everyone. Pag naging stateless po yan, ang laking problema natin yan. So let us be cautious in cancelling the passport. Let them remain as Filipinos first. Then papanagutin natin sila dito habang nasa loob ng kulungan, cancel the passport. Then by the time na matapos ang kanilang sentensya, I doubt na buhay pa sila by the time matapos ang sentensya, eh, saka natin problemahin kung saan natin sila tatapon.
So kung kakasilahin po natin yung passport, ayun matanda po ito para tayo magkakaroon ng pagod siguro.
I agree.
Yun hong kapatid ay nahuli kasama si Casio. Ibig po bang sabihin nito na yung pamban at korak o buhab, the difference is the same?
Yun ang yung matagal ko nang sinasabi dito sa forum na ito at sa iba pang mga forum kung saan naibitahan ng tao at hindi kaya iyakan. Ang bamban at korak ay walang pinagkaiba. Isang criminal organization lamang po yan. At marami pa po silang galamay dito sa Pilipinas na patuloy na kumikilos. No?
In service ng Tetrolera from Genesis. Kapag ito kasi siya yung Golden Triangle, and Golden Triangle din po yung mga may mga Filipinos na nandun sa somehow. Mayroon bang information na related din ba sa mga Golden Operation ko? Yung nagpapakagulit pa rin.
They're part of an online, legal online operation po. Pero kung gaano sila kalaki, sabi nga ni, but then again, they're part of a big criminal organization. Kaya nga po, masusi yung investigasyon namin kasi yung Fujian Gang, kung saan kabilang itong mga guru, ay kabahagi at kapartner ng Golden Triangle Triads. No? May nakita rin po kami link nila dito sa mga Hong Kong triads po. Kaya, it's a very dangerous game that we are playing. No? But a game that we have to play nonetheless kasi po, kino-compromise na po yung bayan natin dito. And so, that's why we're taking seriously the call of the President to seriously investigate who among us, if any, I'm not saying meron, if any, help Alice sapagkat ito yung pinapagpapakita lamang kung gaano kalawak na yung influensya ng mga kriminal na ito na maging kami sa law enforcement na pe-penetrate kanila o kung mga local governments na yan kung sino.
Nabanggit mo kanina si Mayor Alice. She did not,
please do not call her Mayor Alice.
She did not give via immigration exit points, and this would not happen if public officials are not assisted. Elaborate on that. Yung makipagsabuatan mo.
As I said, let me qualify. She could not have done it on her own. She could not have done it on her own. She could not have done it just the four of them. Right? There are private individuals who have helped them, obviously. Private individuals who have looked the other way. Imposible hindi nyo kilala. Nakita nyo naman yung picture na pinalabas namin, no? When she arrived in Kuala Lumpur in July 21, she's still the same Alice Bugo na nakita natin sa Senado. Walang face of construction, walang pagputol ng buhok, at hawak-hawak dala pa rin yung kanyang pink handbag. So kahit sino na makasalubong sa Alice Bugo, makikilala siya. But no one reported. Okay. Now, again, there are moving parts in an escape operation such as the one taken. No? So, forgive it. Forgive my language and forgive my frustration. Napakatanga naman namin lahat sa law enforcement. Kami lahat. Hindi namin siya nabantayan at nakita. No? So, someone somewhere dropped the ball. Whereas someone somewhere dribbled, kept on dribbling the ball. So we really have to investigate. Siniseryoso namin yung panawagan ng Pangulo na malalim investigasyon po ito. Mani, huwag malalim na tanong ha. Yung sa Indonesia, sir, pagkatingin po natin, sila lang ba nung magkapatid yung magkasama? Or meron pa siyang na ibang tao na nasa circle nila? Meron pang isang Pilipina na pag nahagip namin, buhuningin din natin.
Wala ba kasama mayor? Wala ka talaga kasama mayor na tumulong?
Wala.
Sino yung na-establish na malapit na mayor? Kasi apparently, yung una, nag-iwita aswang. Ay ang description, dati rin nasa servisyo. Hindi yata ay isang mayor, sa mayor, dati nasa servisyo. Sino yung establishment?
Wala ho akong alam dahil hindi ako chismoso sa mga bagay na ganyan. Ebidensya lang kung sinusundan ko.
Wala ko ba silang pangalan sa mga bangko? Ayaw na ito.
Sir, may update na po ba if may testimony na or update na binigay si Sheila sa NBI or BI or kung nasa na po sila ni Cassandra?
I will refer to the FBI to answer that question.
Second na. As lang namin, yung 75, may timetable ba tayo? Kailan sila ibabay?
Well, wala. Sa ngayon, no? But we have been assured by the DFA that sinasaayos na yung kanilang pag-uwi. Ang role naman ng DMW doon is post-arrival assistance sa loob sa airport at pagbibigay ng karapatang financial assistance. And as I said, we will work closely with the DOJ sa pagkalap ng kanilang mga statements. Kasi we will ask them pointedly kung sino ang nag-recruit sa kanila, yung Philippine elements ng recruitment and possibly human trafficking sa kanila. And thereafter, we will work with our DOJ partners sa pagsampa ng kaukulang complaint at pag-dinig nito sa prosecutorial service. Well, we know that the DFA, being also a member of IACAT, is mindful of the taking of preliminary statements and narratives at post. So we will also work closely with the DFA along those lines.
Pero in the recent news, may rate ng scam maraming nahuli.
Napakarami hong rates ng mga nakaraang mga linggo. Kaya nagtataka sa mga kasama natin sa media at hindi nyo pinakover yung mga rates sa mga nakaraan. Wala bang invitation? So, may rate dito sa saan na ito? Uzumi Building sa may Parañaque. So, na-rate po yun. May na-rate dito sa may Centrium Tower nitong nakaraang mga araw lamang. May na-rate sa Century Park Tower sa Malate a few weeks back. May na-rate sa Tribes sa CDC a few weeks back. So, mayroon din na-rate sa loob ng Park Development Corporation a few weeks back. So, we have to be transparent with these rates. And we call on you sa media. Kayo mga pantay mo namin. Remember, this illegal numbers game involves a lot of illicit money. And we don't live in a fantasy world. We have to accept the fact that corruption is seeping into some agencies of government. So please do your part. No? Pantayan ninyo kami lahat. Hindi lang PAO, PNP, NBI, even the military. Pantayan nyo kami para hindi makalusot itong mga to eh. Kasi nakakalusot ang mga ito because of money. They have millions, billions of pesos to go around. So, tama ho kayo. Maraming rates nung nakaraang mga linggo. Pero walang nare-report.
Yung po bang maraming Chinese na nagtatrabaho dyan sa corner ng EDSA at saka ng Poli, may na ninyo?
Yun hindi ko alam. Wala kaming na-rate na doon. Pero meron kaming mga ikinakas ng mga rescue. Kasi ang priority, ilan kami sa PAO? 52. Rating ko ha, nag-improve na ho kami. Nung last time nagkita-kita, 49 kami. 52 na kami. Diba? So yung 52 na yan, hindi kayang i-rate lahat. Pero we are in the process of doing a case build for a large-scale rescue operation ng mga foreign nationals kasi ito humingi ng tulong yung mga bahada. Nagpa-prioritize lang po kami na hindi namin kaya na.
Sir,
what reason why you do not get the
charges have been filed, but there is no resolution yet.
These two agencies belong to the Department of Justice. Now, therefore, say that they belong to
I wouldn't say that. They're part of our task group. Now, with regards to the cases, in all honesty, in all honesty on my part, on the Commission's part, and fairness on the part of the DOJ, you need to take a look at the voluminous documents that we have submitted in our charges. Likewise, the voluminous documents that the counter affidavits or the other accused have submitted. So, haste results in waste. No? So, ayaw ko naman paliliin yung mga panel of prosecutors. Again, kaibigan, we are not politically motivated. We are based on evidence. So, we defer to their wisdom in the time that they need to read through the evidence submitted by both parties. And once they are finished going through the evidence, then I am confident that they will see the argument our way. Now, with regards to immigration, if the Buko siblings will not present themselves before any immigration officer, then a reportorial mechanism will not be triggered. So we have to be honest and we have to be fair also to immigration. Kung hindi ho talaga humarap yan sa airport or sa seaport na may immigration officer, hindi ho talaga matitrigger yung alert bulletin namin, di ba? So obviously, I will not put the blame in the DOJ. I will put the blame among us in law enforcement. Kasi mas marami ho kami. How many police officers are there? More than 147,000? How many? 400,000 na? O, dami na pare. So, how many NBI are there? Hundreds. Huwag na kami dami kasi 59 na, 52 na kami. How many armed forces are there? Hundreds of thousands. So, kami talaga. Diba? Kaya lang, we can only do so much. We can only do so much. Pero I will be honest with you. We're doing our jobs. PAO, AFP, PNP. But of course, I cannot say the same for everyone within the organization. Because we don't live in a fantasy land. Kaya nga naglabas ng statement ng Presidente. Someone in the long chain of our criminal justice system may have helped these people to get out of the country. That's why heads will roll.
It's still possible.
Still possible. It's possible there's something wrong with DOJ, PAO, anybody among us. Kaya nga, all of us, sabi ko nga po sa lagi namin sinasabi, pag may investigasyon, dapat magsimula sa amin lahat. Walang katago. So, lahat kami investigahan. And again, that's why I keep on calling on media. Fulfill your function to check on us. And we have, call us out. Hindi naman kami sasamang loob kung i-call nyo kami, di ba? Kasi trabaho nyo yun, trabaho din namin. Thank you.
Sir, tatanong lang po from Jeffrey Hernaez. Wala po. Sir, tatanong niya po, who is ZJ, the alleged Pogo boss who had Ong and Go Secure Hotel bookings? Wanda din kasi sa Pilipinas si ZJ, so ipapahanap din daw.
Xiang Ji. Sinabi ko lang kanina.
Sir, patanong lang.
Pagalitan mo siya. Xiang Ji.
Sir, yung tanong niyang isa pa, ipapahanap daw po ba?
We have filed, Xiang Ji is one of our personal interests in Lucky South 99. So, isa po siya sa kakasuhan natin, ma'am. So, pag nakasuhan ko yun at pinatigan tayo, may warrant, then red notice dito.
Maybe natin sa Quadcom na pangalan yung Mascarenas who Warren Wu. Yeah. Sino po siya?
Si Warren Wu po ang boss ni Catherine Cassandra Ong. Siya po ay retiradong pulis ng Xiamen Siya ang dahilan kung bakit marami kami natagpuan ng mga military PLA police uniforms doon sa Lucky South. Sapagkat si Duarte bilang retirado, ang kanyang mga recruit din ng mga tao nila doon, mga retirado, mga Chinese police dito. No? So, that puts to rest the allegation that there are spies in Lucky South. We kept saying there are no spies in Lucky South 99. Nagkataon lang si Duarte ay retiradong police officer. How big is an operator is Duarte? Big. No, he's big, he's got good connections, well entrenched. And thankfully, he's not in the country anymore. But again, take that back. Tubal, wala siya rito, papapanagutin ko natin siya.
Dok, medyo nagugulong kami sa alphabet soup ng mga pangalan ng organisasyon. Educate us, sino mas mataas ang rango sa pecking order? Yung tatay ni Alice Go? O itong si Wu? O yung Shang-Ji?
Si Duarte Wu, si Angelito Guo, si Alice Nea Guo, Wang Jiang, Li Baoying, Shang Ruijin, Shang-Ji, all of Duarte Wu, they're all part of one group, the Fujian Gang. Hindi pa po namin tukoy, in all honesty, kung sino yung mataas sa pecking order sa mga. Ang sigurado kami, mababa sa pecking order si Cassie Lee at saka si Alice Guo. No? Obviously, Alice Guo is not a criminal mastermind. Nahuli siya. At saka bakit siya nahuli? For putting out her life on social media. Right? So, a criminal mastermind will not do that. Wala kang at the moment. Magaling ka magtago. So, obviously, higher than them ang mga taong nabanggit. Kaya lang, what complicates the investigations that hindi ho limited dito sa mga taong ito. May mga nakikita kami mga koneksyon doon sa mas malala mga criminal organization sa trial. Kaya nga, itong grupong ito, dalawa ko, sila ang okay. Bakit ang daming patayan sa Cora? Ang daming kidnapan sa Cora? Ang daming torture sa Cora? Pero walang ganoong report sa Bamban. Sapagkat dito sa Cora, maraming ulo dito ay mga ulo ng trial. Nawala doon sa Bamban. So yun po yun. Money laundering sa isa, money laundering pareho, pero dito ang control, money kusyante, mga scammer lang, hindi sanay kumatay. Pudian lang, sila Alice, yung grupo niya. Pero dito sa Lucky South, sanay kumatay. Mga trial, mga dating police at so on and so forth.
So ang mga hindi man biggest boss, bigger boss ay natin sa Cora?
I would caution you on that conclusion. Kasi we have not yet reached the logical conclusion of our investigation.
Yung pong pangalan kasi siya ba yung totoong Pilipino o nagaya rin ng mga grupo?
100% Pilipino po yan. Kami nagkamali po yan. Let me apologize for that. Akala rin namin siya po ay katulad ni Alice Guo. But her parents were born Chinese. Yung dalawang magulang, born Chinese. Pero, nung late 70s, yung mga magulang ay naturalized. Kaya nung pinanganak siya, Pilipino na po yung mga magulang.
Ayun, educate us. At 19 years old, paano siya na-involve dito? Sino ang kanyang punet sa grupo nito ng grupo?
At 24 years old.
19 po siya nagsimula.
19 nagsimula. Wesley ko.
Si Wes.
Kasakit na boyfriend na.
So hindi po siya may relasyon dun sa Wu. Kasi sabi nung isang testigo, doon daw tumutuloy sa bahay.
Doon nakatira si Cassie Leong sa 2.5 billion mansion ni Duarte po sa Cora, Pampanga, yung malapit doon sa artificial lake. Pero boyfriend din po siya ni Wesley Go. Ngayon, ayaw ko magmarites, ayaw ko naman tanong siya, Joe Marimba, si Duarte. Mahirap naman yung gano'n.
Balik tayo kay Harry Roque. Yung ebidensya pa na relax lang. Ako, kay Bulit si Harry Roque. Yung ebidensya pa na abogado talaga si Harry Roque. Tagal po ako Officer lang.
Bakit ang salita po? I would like to give deference to a former cabinet official. So Attorney Roque is a former cabinet official. So we give him the benefit of the doubt in relation to what he's saying. But then again, now that his name keeps on cropping up in the documents, in the digital footprint, in the testimonial footprint, we cannot discount his possible involvement in all of these matters.
So, not coincidence.
I don't believe in coincidence anymore. As far as Harry Roque is concerned. His footprint is everywhere. But of course, you have to prove 1 + 1 = 2 to create a case, to build a case.
Dok, may mga Filipino high official ba dito? Involved? Sa Cora at sa Roman?
Wala po naman tumatawag po sa amin. Sarado po yung aming mga linya.
Pero kayo po, without giving details. Kasi kaya tatawag sa linya. Without giving details, meron po ba kayong binumumog na isa, dalawa, tatlo, apat? Whatever number, yung matataas na official.
Of course, we're investigating anybody whose name crops up in the investigation. But investigating is one thing, building a case is another.
Maliban po sa dalawang alkalde in-elect, mayroon po bang elected officials na nasasabi ninyong pangalan sa inyong investigation?
So far, wala po. Ang mga nasasagi nating mga pangalan ay mga, how do you call it, bureaucrats, no? Tenured officers, and former officers of government. But again, it's one thing to investigate, it's another thing to be able to build the case.
Sir, on Harry Roque, dahil na-bring up na po, siya po ba yung highest ranking so far na sinasabi yung former officer, among the former officers of government we're looking at?
No former.
Sir, another question on, you mentioned a while ago that you do not believe in coincidences anymore because his footprint is everywhere. What is the most glaring footprint when it comes to Harry Roque and these cases?
Again, no comment kasi we will not give our cases before the public.
Nagbago ang behavior ni Atty. Harry Roque sa pagdinig sa House of Representatives. Dati high pitch ang description ng iba, suplado. Pero ngayon parang mababa na tono ng kanyang boses. Kayo po sa next investigation. Does it connote something?
If I were you, I would refer that question to Harry Roque.
Kaya isa, check. Yung bang ini-investigahan na tungkol sa illegal recruitment sa Golden Triangle, ika-performance ng PAO?
We work closely naman with the DOJ family, Sir Boying and his team. So we rest assured, no, we will coordinate with the law enforcement at the appropriate time. Pero ang una dyan, yung binigay ko kanina, kalap ng mga statements.
Kaya po ba naniniwala na ikaw-unayan na yun? Mula-rate nila doon sa i-investigahan nyo?
Hindi ko lang yung bahagi na yun, kasi very specific yung kay Dr. But what we know for sure is from Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, merong threat dito, no? Merong threat ng pare-parehong aktibidades at ang modus ay pare-pareho in a sense that yung hiring ng foreign workers is prevalent. So halimbawa dito, yung pogo dito, mas marami ang non-Pinoys. Doon, mas marami ang non-Cambodians, kaya nandun ang Pinoys. So yung ganong klaseng modus, and then I think may bearing din yung language ng pogo operation. So halimbawa kung yan ay illegal call center operation, kailangan ng English speaking, so nandun tayo. Dito, hindi ko alam kung ano ang lingwahe ng operation dito, pinapalagay ko hindi English kasi maraming non-Filipino national. So may ganun klaseng estilo. Again, I am not deep into the investigation. I cannot speculate as a lawyer. No? But tila baga may kaugnay lahat.
May huling question. Pinipili na po sa Lebanon, mga OFW. Ano ang sitwasyon?
Yes, sa ngayon we're working closely with our embassy, the DFA again, sa paghahanda. We are ready, no? We have been ready since last year. Ating Pangulo ay may direktiba na paghandaan ng anumang contingency sa bahagi na yan sa Middle East, whether it's Israel or Lebanon or the West Bank. Handa tayo dyan. And together with the DFA, Ambassador Balatbat in Beirut, and our labor attaché Alex Padaid, we're ready with any contingency sa Lebanon. I cannot disclose the details of our evacuation repatriation plans, but rest assured there are evacuation points in country and out of the country, and merong shelter na nakahanda. And we have been communicating. Ngayon, ang sitwasyon ngayon, ang labanan ay nasa border between northern Israel and southern Lebanon. Wala nang Pilipino dun sa mismong border areas. However, may southern cities. Kasi border towns, southern cities, gitna, Beirut. Yung 11,300 na Filipinos, karamihan nandun sa Beirut, sa gitna. May southern cities in between the border towns and the central part, Beirut. Nando doon mga less than 100, and we are now in the process of evacuating them. And again, may shelters. I cannot identify the location of the shelters for security reasons. But the other thing is, merong 45 na alam kong pinoproseso pa uwi. It's taking a bit of time with the immigration authorities sa Lebanon, but we are patient in the sense that they are all safe and just ready to be flown home. Bukas pa naman ang Beirut International. At nagdadasal tayo na hindi lalala ang sitwasyon.
So, paano po natin kukumbinsin ng mga Pilipino na nasa Lebanon na umuwi? Ay marami sa kanilang naniniwala. Hindi raw naman hindi naman reckless bombing ang ginagawa ng Israeli forces at gumagamit pa sila ng kahit munition. Napakadalang daw na collateral damage. So, nagkakaroon sila ng feeling na safe sila at hindi sila uuwi.
Okay, sa ngayon alert level 3, meaning total deployment ban to Lebanon, but voluntary repatriation. Kaya ganoon na lamang ang statement na linabas ni Ambassador Balatbat last weekend. Sabi niya, kababayan sa Lebanon, avail na kayo ng repatriation, umuwi na kayo lahat, please, ganyan. So, we join the DFA in that call. It's voluntary, no? Kaya, sa ngayon, talagang hindi kayatin natin sila. One way is yung binanggit ko kanina. Karamihan ng mga workers sa Lebanon ay domestic workers. At yung pagtaas natin ng financial assistance from 100,000 to 150 from DMW OWA alone, wala pa dyan yung pinasecrec sa DSWD and other possible forms of assistance from other agencies. That alone can stem the tide for them for at least a 3, 4, 5 month period. So, ito ay isang form ng panghikayat sa kanila. Unprecedented yung bibigyan sila ng 150,000 pag-abot sa Pilipinas. Second, ay binabantayan din natin siyempre ang political and security situation. We are not experts in that field, so we have to depend on our colleagues at the DFA and the Department of National Defense. Ang isang mahalaga ngayon dito, particular din sa Red Sea, ay we're thankful to Sekibo kasi he has linked us with his team so that it's not just DFA and DMW now, it's DMW, DFA, and DND. Tatlo na kami nag-uusap. Kahapon dun sa International Maritime Stakeholders Meeting na binanggit ko, andun ng DND. So we are well versed and briefed sa security aspect. Marami doon confidential, kaya hindi ko maiham ngayon. But rest assured, binabantayan din natin ang security aspect na sana hindi lalala, pero may potential na lumala.
Magkano po ang average salary ng mga Pilipino na sa Centro sa Lebanon?
Ang average ay naglalaro sa mga 20, mataas na siguro at 25,000 a month.
So yung 150,000, natumbas na kalahati ng taong sweldo nila.
Conservatively, yung binalik kong 4 to 5 months, conservative yun. Kasi posibleng pag matagal na ay malaki na rin. Conservative yung 4 to 5 months, pag tama kayo, potentially it could be more than, it could cover more than 4 to 5 months salary.
Ito, yung marami dyan, hindi naman legal, ang pagpuntalan. Wala akong mapili-pili, 150,000.
Walang pinipili po. Tayo sa mandato lang sa batas, whether documented or undocumented.
So lahat sila makakatanggap naman.
Yes. Ngayon, si Admin Arnel Ignacio sa OWA, kung OWA member yung pauwi, this evening may karagdagan pa yun. Para naman may pribilehiyo rin yung faithful na nagbabayad sa OWA. So, depende na yun kay Admin Arnel yung their programs will take in over and above the 150 that I mentioned.
Yung po ba ko OFW natin doon na domestic worker, kagaya din sa ibang bansa, like Saudi na kontrolado ang buhay, hindi pwede kumabas. O sa Lebanon, kung ayaw na ng mga Pilipino, kung sila muli, pwede sila lumabas kahit ayaw na nga.
Hindi ko siya ako yung tanong kung malaya sila.
Na makalabas. Ayaw na kami. Kasi sa Saudi, hindi pwede. Hawak ang passport.
May ganun din. May exit visa requirement din sa Lebanon. Pero, having said that, ang malaking kaibahan kasi, as you know, in Lebanon, mas merong mixed religion, mas should I say, mas heterogeneous in terms of religious persuasions in Christian side din ng Lebanon. So I would say na hindi as stringent ang exit policies. But having said that, binanggit ko kanina, dumadaan pa rin ngayon sa immigration process. Itong 45 na nung beginning of the week ay nagsabing travel ready sila. Inaantabayan pa rin natin ang processing with the Lebanese authorities.
Asik mo na tayo. Asik, i-plug mo nga yung event ko. Dalimutan namin.
Hindi malaking ano yan, 2,500 participants.
Opo, maraming salamat po ulit. So, ipa-plug ko lang po ulit itong Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction. Ito po ay gaganapin sa October 14 to 18 sa PICC po. Meron po tayo in-expect na 62 countries na attending po at least naka-register na today. Marami po tayo in-expect na high level po na darating from ministers. Nag-invite rin po tayo sa Office of the President at sana po makapag-confirm ng attendance si Presidente. So marami po tayong mga sessions po dito. May plenary, may working session, may exhibit booths, meron po tayong Philippine Pavilion, at meron po tayong mga showcase po ng mga technologies and mga initiatives on disaster risk reduction.
Okay. I understand merong ongoing operations of police to arrest Pastor Kiboy. Yung report na yun. Anyway, let's wait for developments dito sa ano to. Issue. Monitor broadcaster. Going. Anyway, kung wala, may questions pa for media? Despite, let's conclude this Saturday's edition of our regular news forum. We'd like to thank Secretary Hans Leo Takda ng Department of Migrant Workers, Assistant Secretary Doraline Uy ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources, at si Dr. Winston Giancaso na we'll hear more from him later on kasi ongoing itong COVID issue na hindi matatapos soon, I think.
Si Dr. Kahanga kasi napakadala ng Pilipino nakakatanda ng mga monosyllabic name, much more names. Kaya tandaan.
Maraming salamat sa inyo lahat sa pagtuloy rito at we'll see you next Saturday.